watching Numbskull News, and holy crap, we got a settlement. It is done. The ACC Board of Directors voted on it. FSU, Clemson, it's all happening. Lawsuits will be dropped. It's going to take about 30 days for all the paperwork to be processed, but this sucker's done. As of 2026, the cost to get out, the total cost to get out of the ACC will be $165 million. At least that's what's being reported right now. From there, it drops $18 million a year until the end of the 2030 season, I guess the summer of 2030. And then it's a flat rate fee of $75 million to get out with your media rights, everything done. So now we know the date that the ACC is going to succumb to the same crap that the Pac-12 has. That date will be 2030. I don't believe Florida State and Clemson are going to get out before then. They're going to save as much money as humanly possible. You're talking about house settlement coming, revenue sharing coming. They're not looking to spend more money than they need to. They're going to make plenty more money in the ACC. They're going to be playing Notre Dame way more often than any of these other teams are going to get to. They're going to get their unequal revenue sharing. That'll help stabilize them until 2030. Then they can get out. And if you ask me, it's going to be the SEC, because there's no way in hell ESPN wants to lose those two fan bases to Fox. Period. End of story. They will work this out. It will be the SEC. And if you're Florida State and Clemson, I know Florida State fans, they want to go to the Big Ten. I'm here to tell you, wrap your head around the SEC. The travel, super easy. The money, the windfall of cash that's going to come at you, don't complain about it. You're going to be fine. They'll have 4 automatic qualifiers for the CFP. Clemson, it's the SEC or bust. And they will get to go to the SEC. Of course, the reporting is and has been and will be that UNC is the most coveted team by the SEC. However, I still question whether that's the most coveted team by ESPN, who's going straight to consumer. When you go straight to consumer, you're making your money by and large with subscribers. Of course, there's also going to be plenty of corporate sponsors, all that kind of stuff. That's another way for them to make their money. There will be ads on that future ESPN Plus model, that straight-to-consumer model. But, and I know there's great value as far as being in North Carolina, but there's also a great amount of politics associated with that. Everyone assumes, way it'll work out is kind of like with USC and UCLA, UCLA and Cal, I should say, where UCLA has to pay a certain amount of money to Cal every year to help support them, right? Because they suck at money. UNC, NC State, people are just assuming, well, UNC will just, they'll agree to pay whatever to NC State and they'll get to go wherever they want. Maybe that's the case. But will they get the invite to the Big Ten or the SEC? That remains a question. I'm the only one questioning it. I know. There's a really good chance I may very well be wrong, but that's a story for another day. I'll hit that nail with my hammer later on. Where the ACC goes from here. What is their fate? Is it going to be the Pac? It won't. Not totally. They have 5 years. Now, a lot of people are saying that, hey, Florida State, Clemson definitely won this, whatever. It was inevitable that this is what the ACC was going to have to do. They were going to have to let those schools go. They were going to have to make some kind of deal and let them go. Now, there's a lot of people that are like, hey, you're going to give them all this extra money and then let them out? early in 2030 and screw the rest of the conference? Well, yeah. Yeah. What are you going to do? Force them to stay there till 2036, having no idea how the court thing's going to end up. It can go either way. So it's better to have a controlled demolition. And that's exactly, in part, what this is. You got to let them go. And then this gives you time, with the ACC being fully intact, gives you time to figure out what the hell you're going to do. You got 5 years to figure it out. Now, unfortunately, there's not too many choices. Now, if I'm right about UNC and they don't get the invite, and if Miami doesn't get the invite, all right, that's a good deal. That's good. But here's an issue. Here's an issue. You remember the Pac? The Big Ten took USC and UCLA. They told Oregon and Washington, hey, we're interested, but not right now. Maybe down the road. Gave no promises, gave no nothing. Just not right now. Maybe that happens with Miami and UNC. You know, Florida State and Clemson get picked up because they are available. They pay, they're there. It's too good a deal for ESPN to pass up. They can't pass it up. It's too much viewership. Well, so UNC and Miami are told, hey, you're just going to have to wait. What have I told you about Louisville, though? They are the Colorado of the ACC. You don't think they'd be willing to pay $75 million to get out? Well, they're not going to go to the Big Ten. They're not going to go to the SEC. I'm talking about going to the Big 12. Why would they pay that? The Big 12 doesn't make... Hold on. The ACC makes a little bit more money than the Big 12 right now. But their media rights are going to come up around the same time. And they will get a significant increase of money. Significant. And at that time, it may behoove Louisville to go ahead and pay $75 to get the hell out of there. Hook up with the Big 12, and over that span of 5 years, they'll make up that money plus some. Because according to these private capital firms, they're giving the Big 12 essentially a $5 billion evaluation, which means they think that, at least their bet, and that's what they're doing, they're betting on the Big 12. They're putting their money down on the Big 12 with that valuation, saying that their media rights should double. And these are people that know a hell of a lot more than me or you when it comes to getting these kind of deals done, these media rights deals. They know how this money flows around. We don't really know. They do. And they're the ones putting up the big ass money and putting their bet down on it. So that's enough proof for me to say that more than likely the Big 12 and the next media rights deal is probably looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of $60 million just on their media rights. Not including CFP, not including NCAA, not including sponsors, advertisers, none of that. None of this extra money out there. No payoff for bowl games, none of that. Just the media rights, which will be significantly more money than the ACC brings in, especially without Florida State and Clemson. Those are huge dominoes. And when those suckers fall, the whole thing folds like a house of cards. We've seen it time and time and time again. And there's only one reason, and one reason only, that the Big 12 survived. Only one. And that is because those original 8 teams, nobody wanted them. There were no takers for any of them. Forget about the kind of value you may think they had. The Big 10, the SEC, and at the time, the ACC and the Pac-12 said there's not enough value. We're not interested. Therefore, they had to coalesce, You added BYU, you added 3 other American schools, the top of the G5, and you went forward. And then you were able to land the Four Corners out of the pack once they folded shop. As I said during their drama, that they're screwed because there is takers for not just the top tippity top of the brands, but some of those tier 2 brands have a home in another power conference called the Big 12. That's the problem with the ACC. It's not just how many teams the SEC is willing to take. It's not just about how many teams the Big 10 will be willing to take. It's about you have a third power conference that's going to be making significantly more money than the ACC at that time, who also has CFP access, is an autonomous conference, and will take teams, the right teams. Because you could very well see it. Florida State and Clemson get sucked up. Everybody waits. Then Louisville pays. They go to the Big 12, and just like what happened in the Pac, once Colorado left, then the Big 10 came in and re-dipped in and got Oregon and Washington. You can see the same damn thing happening in the ACC. I'm not saying, or I'm not with UNC getting that invite, but there is a chance it could happen. I'm not saying definitely no. I just giving y'all reasons why I have severe doubts about it. And as a Big 12 fan, that would be a big win for the Big 12 to get UNC and Duke, and have that rivalry within the Big 12. And there's ACC people that say, well, none of these teams want to go to the Big 12. Not everybody wants to go to the SEC and Big 10, but a team like Louisville knows damn well they're not getting there. They already know. So what do? You get to the highest ground possible. And if that costs you 75, it costs you 75. Remember, these former Mountain West teams who have now joined the new pack, they're all having to pay big-ass exit fees to the Mountain West. I know there's some litigation about that, but they're still going to have to pay, regardless of that litigation that the new Pac-12 has with the Mountain West. They're going to have to pay the Mountain West. They're going to have to pay those exit fees. And they're willing to do it. And this is for smaller money than what's going to be available to a team like Louisville in the ACC. So $75 million is still a pretty steep price. But if you're making on your bottom basement level money $60 million media rights, plus CFP, plus NCAA, plus sponsors, plus advertisers, I'm sorry, they will jump for that. Could there be another team that's willing to jump for that? Could a Georgia Tech say, hey, we'll throw the money in? Because after that, I'm just saying, if we use the same thing what happened to the Pac-12 with the ACC, Louisville jumps, and then the Big Ten says, okay, now we'll come and take Miami. Now that 2 other conferences, because everyone just assumes, oh, it's going to be the two big conferences that go and eat first. It may not work out that way. There are legalities. There are worries. And the big 2, if anything else, are, how would you say it? They are rather paranoid of lawsuits, antitrust and others. So they don't take chances. So if the SEC eats first, the Big Ten may just back off to see who does what. Because think about it. They're not in a position where they feel they need to expand. Even if Florida State and Clemson go to the SEC, the Big Ten still feels that they're fine. We're fine. We don't have to sit there and act. We don't have to move right now. We don't have to take teams if we don't feel we need to. They're making ass tons of money and will continue to make ass tons of money on into the future. They're set up for the long, long haul. They're fine. They ain't worried about none of this. This whole talk about The student apocalypse. These schools, they're worried about they're going to have empty classrooms and all that. They're not worried about that in the Big 12. Sorry, in the Big 10. Not with all that AAU bullshit. Not with all that the prestige there. Northwestern, Purdue, hell, Rutgers. I mean, you got big time universities. Penn State's a big time university. Michigan and Michigan State, big time academic universities. So I'm just saying, if Louisville leaves, that could open the door for the Big Ten at that point, in that scenario. And there's a lot of different scenarios that can happen. One thing that's not going to happen is not everyone's going to leave all at once. It's going to be a trickle, if you will. But in this scenario, where the ACC just gets picked apart, it's not going to be as bad as it was with the Pac-12. There will be teams remaining. And maybe some surprising teams that remain in that conference, and then rebuild it with American schools or MAC schools or whatever the hell. And because of their location on the East Coast, it's going to be much easier to backfill once you lose more schools. But let me give one other scenario. If it's only Florida State and it's only Clemson that pay to get out, the only ones that have those landing spots in the SEC or Big Ten. All right. And Miami is not assured anything. UNC is not assured anything. They get a busy signal. They call and they're told, hey, we love you, but Fox kind of doesn't. Or ESPN kind of doesn't. You're kind of stuck. At that point, there could be an opportunity for a merger with the Big 12. As I said before, the reason I give for the Big 12 and the ACC to merge is having control of so much content, power for autonomous content. I know not all these teams, are getting shit tons of ratings. I understand that. But the locations they're at, teams like Georgia Tech on the rise, a team like Miami who does get good ratings, a team like UNC doesn't always get good ratings. Sometimes it's kind of an up and down kind of thing. But their ratings kind of fit into the Big 12. Sometimes they are about 1 million views a week. And a lot of times they're underneath that. However, without a conference network, you're going to be put on ESPN, you're going to be put on Fox, or you're going to be put on WBD. So there's a lot more opportunities for you to have more exposure on their football side of things. The basketball side is the basketball side. It's the bluest of the blue bloods at UNC and Duke, places like that. So there would be an opportunity for that merger. We're just going to have to see how many teams get that invite to the Big Two, and I have a big feeling it's not going to be many. The SEC, I could see them taking Florida State and Clemson and just stopping. That's it. I could see ESPN saying, look, we'll put those two over there. After that, no thank you. We're not wanting to pay this premium price in the SEC for any of these other teams, including UNC. Because right then, they already control UNC. They already have access to the North Carolina market. ESPN does. Because who gets the majority of the money from advertisers? That's why do you think ESPN wants all these media rights from all corners of the earth? For advertisers. That's where they make their money, people. So whenever you hear, oh, the SEC wants to get into the North Carolina market for advertisers. No. The SEC has no problem with advertisers. That's ridiculous. It's ESPN. They're the ones that make the money off the markets in advertising. They're already in North Carolina with 4 schools with control of the ACC at a nice Nice low ball price. Do you think they want to put UNC in the SEC and pay that money when they're already in the state? Makes no sense. What we know about the ACC, they got 5 years to figure it out. 5 years to figure it out. It may get figured out for them. Like I said, Louisville, if that domino drops in 2030, and it very well could, it's going to depend on the Big 12's media rights. How far does it go up? And if these private equity, private capital companies are right about their evaluations of the Big 12, and it goes up significantly, like doubles, then that's a good deal for Louisville to do that. Or anybody else that wants to come over to the Big 12 and still be an irrelevant conference at that time. And look, we're talking the Virginia Techs, because I'm sorry, they're not going to the SEC. I've heard that bullshit. I've heard the Big Ten. The Big Ten isn't going to 24 teams. Neither is the SEC. I can easily see the Big Ten saying, you know what? Let's wait and see what Notre Dame does. Let's see if we can wait out Notre Dame. That's the biggest fish in the pond for them. And it's not close. It's written into their contract. Will continue, and on their next media rights deal, it'll be written into the contract again. That's what they want. They will wait them out. You just can't convince me that Ohio State, that Michigan, Penn State, that USC, any of these big, huge, gigantic brands in the Big Ten are going to be willing to take in dilutive schools. I don't buy it. Notre Dame makes you money instantly. So I think they'll wait. And then they'll tell Notre Dame, hey, who do you want to come with you? If they want UNC, UNC will be there. But if they want Stanford, it'll be Stanford. If they want Miami, it'll be Miami. The Big Ten at that point won't give a damn as long as it's Notre Dame that's number 19. I mean, we'll find out. We'll find out here in a few years. We'll have to wait, but we will find out. Anyway, we're going to be making some videos on this shit. You better believe it. So thanks for watching this crap, and I'll be back with some more crap later. Bye-bye.